All right, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's take a look at our trade plan for today. Do we need to make any updates from last night? Let's see here. So we said last night holding above 350, we're looking for 75 and 90. 75 completes the rotation, 90 is an extension target. That is still good. Holding below 50, we're looking for 17. That completes the incomplete auction going back to Thursday. And then we look for 04, which is Wednesday's value high. That is also still good. So trade plan is the same. Our day shape is kind of a D-shaped profile, a little bit of a micro pullback on the downside. So a bit of a neutral bias. You could say it's slightly bearish for now. Key level is this value low from yesterday. So holding below that 350 level, this could be another failure. So you see on the overnight here, we failed to push into that value, came down, lower low, and then we're trying to put in a higher high here. We're trying to break back into that value again. So very important, right out of the open, is it able to put in that higher high, and can it protect that higher high? So can we start to build value above 350, kind of breaking above that overnight high? Pretty much the same exact story on NASDAQ. We put in a failure of yesterday's value low. We broke down, lower low again, and now we're trying to break this prior high. Now, a little bit of a difference on NASDAQ. This is still putting in a lower high. So they have not taken out that prior high from the pre-market. So if we stay above that 347, we're looking for that value retrace back into 422. And then around 550 for the extension. Staying below 347, we're going to look for that 203 overnight low of yesterday. Also lines up with the POC of Friday. And then 141 to finish that incomplete auction going back to Thursday. So no change in our trade plan from last night. If you guys read that trade plan, you are good to go. Same thing on NASDAQ. It is a D shape. We need to pay attention to see if it wants to hold above that value low from yesterday. Kind of turning into a P-shaped failure and filling in that lower tail. Do we have any data after the bell today? Let me see. A little bit of data at 10 o'clock. Nothing crazy. Here is the trade plan. One thing I wanted to look at is what are the tickers for the Japanese bonds? JP10, okay. Taking a look at the spread between the Japanese 10-year yield and the US 10-year yield. And as this gets weaker, possibility of that yen carry trade coming to an end. It's below that 3% mark. So if it starts getting below like 2.5, 2.6, that starts to really threaten that that carry trade. The yen is also getting a little bit stronger as well. I'm looking at that because Japan just had a historical election where they, the majority party that's been in control for like 70 plus years has lost the majority. So it will be interesting moving forward for the next few months to see how their fiscal policy changes. All right, let's take a quick look at the Momo and OTS, then we'll go back to our order flow charts for today. So let's do a top-down analysis. Let's go for the higher time frames first. So higher time frames, we are trying to flip a little red trend here, getting above that 30-minute trail, momentum coming up a little bit. No real clear pivots right now. Keep an eye on the 50s. Let's go down to the 15. 15-minute momentum topping out a little bit. There is a top pivot here. Keep an eye on that ADMA and possibly the trail. Let's go down to the 5. 5-minute already seeing the problem with that top out on the 15. Starting to curl over a little bit. Momentum is pretty flattened out, so it can continue to trend. Just keep an eye on that 5-minute trail, which is currently around 46. Let's go down to the 1-minute. And 1 minute, same thing. Kind of seeing the effect of that rollover. A little bit of a pivot. Keep an eye on that trail. Losing 45 to 46 looks a little weak. All right, let's do the same thing for NASDAQ. Let's start with the 30-minute. Trying to flip a downtrend here. Trying to flip the trail. Has not flipped green. You're just breaking the red trail for now. You are running into a pivot, 340. Little bit of resistance there. Keep an eye on that. 15-minute momentum topping out a little bit. Keep an eye on that pivot around 365 if you do break that 340 pivot. 5-minute flattening out, so you do have a pretty strong trend here. Keep an eye on that ADMA and that trail. 327 on that trail. So losing 327, not looking too good. So key levels to watch for today, or at least for the open, right away at the open. Keep an eye on those 5-minute trails. 327 on NASDAQ and 345 on ES. Because we're starting to curl over a little bit on the higher time frames. Good morning, everybody. Wanatachi, Banana, AT, Backpack, and Morris, Jose, Techie, Leo, Shima, Daniel, Curtis, Estevan, Vika, Fernando, Chebby, Lulu, Darius, It's You, Scott, 2013, Ken, Perfect. Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Sam, Blood, Michael, Foreman, C-Mac. Good morning, Roman, Clive, Chris. Good morning, Keegan, Gregor, Trevor, Typhoon, Chuck, Astro, Nitro, and Alex. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. If you guys are just listening, I appreciate you guys being here as well. Good morning. A little bit of sell pressure before the opening bell here. We keep seeing that around like 928, 927. Somebody has like an algorithm that likes to get involved before the open. Good morning, Wesley, Chebby, Seba. Good morning, everybody. Keep an eye on those 5-minute trails, as I said. Starting to roll over a little bit on the higher time frames, but you still have a decent move. The trend is still stable until those trails are lost. Taking a look at the 30-minute candles, most of them are breaking highs, protecting lows. These are all yellow candles, meaning they're protecting their lows, breaking their highs. Yeah, Powell was supposed to be speaking at 8:30. I think that's already done, but I'm not sure. He said nothing of interest. Gotcha. Did they ask him about the investigation and like him being fired or resigning? I'm assuming they did. He probably didn't answer it though. He's pretty good at not answering questions he's not supposed to. He only spoke for 20 seconds. Gotcha. Yeah, I was seeing reports on that building because more and more is coming out about it now that people are paying attention. And I can't remember if it was 2.5 or 3.5 billion was spent on that building, and that's kind of outlandish. Like, I'm starting to see where they're coming from with that investigation. 2.5 to 3.5 billion is insane. Okay, here come those trails right away. Nasty sell pressure right out of the gate. Keep an eye on VWAP here. 44. There it is. VWAP on ES. VWAP at 319 on NASDAQ. Nasty sell out of the gate here. Selling that value low retrace that we talked about on our trade plan. 350 on ES. 347, which is damn near the top, like to the point on NQ. So beautiful failure of yesterday's value low. Good morning, JC. Lubomir, James, Christopher, eBay. Good morning, Tamer. Nasty sell here, not getting any buy pressure, just completely dropping. There's that rollover that I was just talking about on the Momo. Getting that rollover very quickly here, failing the trail at 45 on ES, failing that trail that we covered on NASDAQ, which was at 328. Already down 40 points from that trail failure. Already down 6 points from ES trail. Delta to follow, too. Delta following price beautifully here. There was a big cluster of bullish delta here on the pre-market being retested at 40. So now that 30-minute is looking like a trap where you broke the red trail. You got above it, but you did not flip the trail green, so you're turning into a trap now. You're back below the trail. Yeah, I don't know how to turn off the fans thing. I don't think I can turn that off. It's like a new thing they're doing. I don't even honestly know how it works. I think it's just like whoever talks more or something, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I can turn them off. Alright, keep an eye on this point of origin down here. Pretty obvious point of origin around like 38. And then we have the point of origin of that sell-off that we just had, basically just retesting the open. That bullish delta cluster that we had come in around the 40s being protected here. You can see they came down to retest it. There's basically nobody selling that. Good morning, Unleashed. Yeah, it just kind of like distracts the chat a little bit. Like they're really big. They don't need to be that big. YouTube's just trying to come up with things to compete with Twitch because Twitch chat is like very different. Twitch chat is very interactive. They've got all kinds of emotes and like GIFs, like moving emotes, animated emotes. Bookmap I don't really use. I used them for about, I think it was like less than a year. I think I used them for like a few months. And it's pretty cool. Like it's got some cool things to it. But for the most part, I think it's just distracting most people. I think people think they're doing something really fancy with Bookmap because of the way that it looks. But they're realistically not doing anything that crazy. If you like Bookmap, Addis and other platforms have those like bubbles and like those different order flow charts. Addis has all that stuff. I just don't use it. I'm not a big level 2 trader. I don't do depth of market and the bubbles and whatnot. What Addis just added, that thing that they have with their partnership with DX Feed, where you can see like the heat map of the orders, kind of like Bookmap style. That is pretty cool. Like I used to use that a lot in crypto. But yeah, not too much anymore. There used to be a site for crypto. I don't know if it's still around. I can't remember the exact name. I think it was called like Trading Light or something like that. And that one was really good. They did a fantastic job with that like level 2 data. And that's kind of what Addis looks like now. Addis has that same function. Okay, this bounce has basically no delta. Look at the delta on the bounce compared to the delta on the drop. Kind of looks like a trap. Little bit dangerous. Bouncing off a 1 minute pivot. Beautiful pivot on ES. Pivot came in at 41. That was a bottom combo. You had a purple shading there as well. And now we're hitting our trail target. So if you did take that combo, there's the trail target. Keep an eye on that pivot at 48. Bouncing off a 5 minute pivot at the same level, 41. NASDAQ, that pivot was at 290. Here is the point of origin of that sell-off, which is just the open, basically. Even with low delta, they are just easily bouncing this. Very unusual. Seems like that sell-off on the open was kind of fake. They're not protecting it at all. Bear flag in the VWAP on NASDAQ. You did not get a bear flag in the VWAP on ES. You instantly broke through it. You are failing VWAP damn near to the tick. Pretty much to the tick. On NQ. Bear flag bringing you down a little bit on ES. This is a dangerous climb on ES because it has no delta. Pretty easy to trap it if NASDAQ continues. Keep an eye on the back test of 45 here. That's that key level on the where the EMAs are for now. 50 is still the main level they need to get above if they want to start retracing yesterday's value. Very quickly back above that 5 minute trail. Failing a 1 minute pivot though. NASDAQ, very different. Look at the sell-off in Delta on NASDAQ, losing that low. Beautiful bear flag into VWAP. Failing VWAP literally to the exact tick. And your lower low target has already been hit on NASDAQ. There it is. Very different price action here. I'm assuming Russell and Dow are probably bullish, if I had to guess. Yeah, Russell and Dow are straight up. So Russell and Dow pulling ES one direction, NASDAQ pulling it another direction. For how fast we're moving, we're not getting a lot of action on the large tape here. I mean, you can't ask for a better bear flag in a VWAP than that. You sold off out of the gate, slow climb back into VWAP, failed it to the exact point, and instantly hit your lower low. Yeah, NASDAQ has been really clean on the 1 minute recently, or like the lower time frame patterns has been pretty damn good compared to ES. It's been maintaining its like intra-candle trends, right? Where the 30 minutes kind of choppy, but the 1 minute's still pretty trendy. It's not doing too bad. Good morning, Bobby, Tim, Kevin. Our next major level on NASDAQ is 203. You can see the 30-minute looks pretty nasty here. Bounced up, a couple of micro pullback dojis, a little bit of a distribution, and then lost that low very quickly. So look for 45 there. Staying below that 45 low is still pretty bearish. It's trying to go up because of Russell and Dow. Russell and Dow are pushing up. Yeah, when you have NASDAQ looking this clean, like very trendy, but ES is not following that same clean trend, you always want to take a look at the other indexes. Take a look at Russell, take a look at Dow. Sometimes people forget about the two little brothers, the ones that people don't really trade too much. They're trying to pull ES in a different direction. Yeah, I'm seeing that on my other screen. Nvidia's dropping like a rock. Keep an eye on 164, little gap fill. Gold is still doing pretty good. Gold is up 0.5%. A lot of bearish delta, minus 4,000 on that 30-minute candle, and it still has 10 minutes left. You put in a top pivot on the literal open candle, on the 1-minute open of NASDAQ, and then just nuked from there. 5-minute trail got taken out at around 330, 328, somewhere around there. 15-minute trail got taken out around like same level. 30-minute trail got taken out at, yeah, same level, so like 320. 320 is that big level for NASDAQ, needed to hold, and it just nuked it. Look at that 30-minute candle on NQ. That is a nasty candle. We're starting to re-enter Friday's value, so possibly look for that retrace. We're pretty much already completing that retrace on NQ, nearly complete. It's about halfway there. Here's our 203 target. 203 target being hit. Next target would be anywhere from 181 to 140. That is a ridiculously bad candle on NASDAQ, wiping out the entire pre-market and pretty much the entire day of yesterday in one candle. And this goes back to the problem that I was talking about yesterday. If you guys were in Discord, I talked about this on the closing, my closing remarks at 4. You can't keep seeing stuff like this. You can't keep seeing value try to push higher and it tries to build up and then it just closes weak. Oh, and by the way, that was the retest of the closing spike. We said that closing spike was a little bit aggressive yesterday. It did get retested, so that's good. But yeah, this doesn't look great on the higher time frames when you keep trying to push for higher value and it just keeps nuking it. Okay, here is that exact target, that 203 target being hit. Next target, anywhere from like 180 to 140. NASDAQ is just fully leading today. NVIDIA free falling. And yet again, we're seeing another extremely aggressive A session that could be putting in the high of day or low of day. So the A session possibly putting in the high of day here. Been seeing that a lot recently where you have just a really strong A session and one side of that A session is the extreme for the entire day. It's really just personal preference, Red. NASDAQ is more volatile, a little bit faster. ES is more conservative, more patient. Rocco, I mainly trade like shifts in momentum. That's the easiest way for me to dumb down my, or not dumb down, but like push it all into like one sentence. All of my trading is basically just shifts in momentum. Today is a great example of that. We talked about losing those trails. We talked about that value low of yesterday being retested. All of that stuff got taken out, failed, whatever you want to call it, right out of the open. I mean, look at this bear flag in the VWAP. If you guys took that bear flag in the VWAP, if you're using a runner, you haven't even lost your aggressive trail. Your aggressive trail is still being protected. Completely smashed our daily trade plan. That might be one of the fastest daily trade plan completions we have seen in a very long time. 203, 141, completely smashed. Next target is 63 if you are continuing on NASDAQ. That incomplete auction of Thursday repaired. Here comes the incomplete auction on ES, and that basically is repairing it. You just didn't repair it with like 1 point. Next target on ES is 04. And by the way, I don't see any headlines to go with this. There's not like any key reasons on why this is dropping like this. This is pretty much purely technical. This isn't like a pal just got fired headline. There is a headline about Microsoft, about Chinese hackers exploiting one of their programs. But they're not even dropping that much, so they're not even the reason we're going down. The drop in Nvidia is pretty nasty. Filling in that daily gap. It has a million daily gaps below. Okay, here is that snapback, that rebound into the ADMA. As I've been talking about a lot recently, you do not want to be a seller when you're very far below the ADMA, or you're a buy. You don't want to be a buyer very far above the ADMA. That is like the extremely aggressive average, right? And you can see right there, if you sold when you were, what, over 10 points away from it, not a very good sell. They're not doing a great job building up a node on these lows. They had a node building up at like 21, instantly lost it. Very small node at 24, lost it, and then that's pretty much it. Good morning, Trent. Good morning, Olive. Yeah, the trade on NASDAQ was just super clean. You either had the pivot failure, they put in a pivot on the high, like the literal high of day, on the open. There's a 1 minute pivot. Then you back tested VWAP there to the literal tick. So beautiful bear flag and a VWAP there. On ES, it was more of a trap trade. As I talked about, this bounce, look at the delta here. There is absolutely no delta. So this is a VWAP trap, not a VWAP bear flag. You broke through VWAP, but you did not have the delta to really hold above VWAP. Look at the large tape here. Large tape and pretty much entirely bearish. Great call on the lack of delta. Yeah, the lack of delta was very telling. There was no delta on that buy. It made absolutely no sense. Keep it on this higher low here, trying to put in a higher low. This is a bit of a relief bounce because you're just so damn aggressive. People are taking profit. That higher low is probably going to get taken out. We'll see. That higher low does have a 1 minute pivot. There's a pivot at 22. Good morning, Yusa. How do they accomplish a trap like that? I don't understand how there is no delta record of buying of the buying trap on ES. So basically what's happening is there's not really anybody selling. So they're allowing it to go up. They're basically like pulling the book. They're allowing it to go up. So even though there's barely any buy pressure, it's able to climb. Because in order for that delta to be spiking, you need to have those limit orders in the book for them to be buying into. So if they keep buying into the limit orders, then the delta goes up because they're market buying. If they don't have those orders in the book to buy into, the delta is not going to rise as much. Here's the 10 o'clock data, but it doesn't really matter. -20 over -2. Still staying below those 80 MAs, so very aggressive as long as that's protected. Top half of the candle not seeing any buyers just yet. EOC shifting down to the bottom already. That's a pretty bad shift. That's a shift of about 25 points going from a D shape open, kind of turning into a lowercase b. So at the start of the stream, we talked about those trails. Let's do a little update here. You can see that trail right there, that dotted line got taken out, just absolutely nuked. Same thing on the NASDAQ 5. You had that trail right there getting nuked. Beautiful pivot on the NASDAQ 5 and the 1. Pivot right there on the high. Trying to put in a bottom here. It's trying to find a bottom. But there's just no buy pressure. Possibly the first major break of the aggressive trail the entire time. So you will finally be trailed out of NASDAQ if you were trailing that bear flag in a VWAP trade. If you were trailing aggressively, passive trail still on either the actual trails on the OTS or the 24 EMA. If you're using a passive trail here, you're giving up quite a bit. That's like a 60-point trail. The bear flag in the VWAP trade was nearly 150 points ago. Kind of disgusting. That's a trade that doesn't make your day, possibly makes your week, possibly makes your month. That's a big trade. Or blow the account. Yeah, no, you're right about that. If you are on the wrong side of that, that will definitely hurt you. I mean, it shouldn't blow your account. If you're using stop losses, you should be fine. I'm not going to go back into this rant. I think we ranted about this enough the last few streams. But yes, if you're trading improperly, not using stop losses, that will 100% blow your account. Well, there's no timing. There's no timing on that trade. That is a purely mechanical trade. It's the same trade that we talk about time and time and time again. The bear flag and the VWAP. It's a fantastic trade. It's all about just knowing the optimal entry points. And the optimal entry point on a bear flag and a VWAP is as the name implies. It's VWAP. Possibly getting another bear flag in the VWAP if it hits this 32 to 36 on ES, 206 to 251 on NASDAQ. Here's the 24 EMA coming up for those passive trails. Yeah, this is a key factor that I talk about quite a lot in my tutoring, like with people that are struggling with entries. They always think it's a timing thing. It's not timing. It's just mechanical. You need to understand the mechanical nature of your setups. what needs to happen, A, B, C, D, right? What are the key factors that need to happen every single time for that setup to be a setup? And in that A, B, C, D, where is the optimal entry point? Where should I be trying to enter on that pattern every single time? It takes away the guessing. It takes away the timing. It is purely mechanical. Yeah, I'd be careful with that, Bobby. Getting in, if you're talking about ES, 5 points is probably reasonable. If you're talking about NASDAQ, getting into a move that is that aggressive for only 5 points is not worth your risk. And even 5 points on ES here is probably not worth your risk. Far too aggressive of a move to go for a small piece of it. Like go for a micro scalp. Because that thing can move 5 points against you in a matter of seconds. Okay, so this trade is pretty much coming to an end now. So if you guys didn't see it earlier, you had a couple of ways to enter on the open, but the open's pretty scary. So if you missed that, I wouldn't really be mad about it. But you failed that key level we were talking about, the value low. You had that pivot come in, it dropped down, and then it slowly climbed back into VWAP. The dotted line is the session VWAP. It failed that VWAP to the literal tick, and then started coming down. So selling anywhere on that candle or the next candle that confirms it would be okay. The next candle is a little bit dangerous because you typically want to target the prior low. So you would have taken a target on this first break of that prior low, which obviously in hindsight would have sucked because it went down much farther. This is why we leave runners. And then the aggressive trail is the ADMA, the passive trail is the 24. You could also trail the actual trails, the OTS trails. You could also trail VWAP here. Now that is a pretty nasty trail. That's about 100 points. So probably nobody with a reasonable brain is going to trail 100 points. So you're probably trailing aggressively. You got taken out at a 30-point trail, and then passively you got taken out at a 60-point trail. Same trade on ES was not the same trade. It was not a bear flag into VWAP. It was more of a VWAP trap. You broke VWAP. You did not fail it. You broke it very strongly to the upside, but there was no bullish delta here. We talked about this as it was happening. The bullish delta was non-existent. So this push made absolutely no sense. How are they pushing that aggressively with no bullish delta? Most likely a trap. So you can either try to predict that trap as soon as it starts topping out with a little bit of sell pressure. So that sell pressure right there probably could have given you a decent little entry. Or once it reclaims VWAP, you can go for kind of a more of a confirmation entry. So once it kind of traps VWAP, reclaims it, you treat it like a bear flag in a VWAP. You could sell VWAP, target the prior low. Prior low got taken out there, and then you trail it, right? So now your trails are being hit. But that was that whole trade there. You could have also traded it the same way we talked about earlier with the trails. I talked about the 5-minute trail, 15-minute trail, yada yada. Those trails got absolutely smashed right out of the open. Most of those trails were lining up around the mid-40s. Mid-40s also lined up with that retest of VWAP. Possibly a little bit of a weird bulldog here. Cannot go any lower. Has to bounce right there. What works better, hedging your positions or using a stop loss? Pretty much nobody in my chat should be hedging their positions. Nobody in here is large enough to hedge positions, really. Hedging positions is a big boy strategy. You can do it to a certain degree, but for the most part, for retail traders, it's not really worth it. You can't even hedge strategies on funding programs anyway. Pretty much no funding program will allow you to do that. If the funding program does allow you to do that, I would be pretty worried about trading on that funding program because they're probably not going to last very long. It is not a retail strategy. And I'm sure there's going to be one or two people in chat that are like, I do it every single day and I make so much money. Well, that's perfectly fine, right? If it makes money, it makes money. I don't really care. But I have to speak to people as a group. And as a group, you guys should not be doing that. And there you go with the Bulldog. Bounced exactly as I said. Now, is it going to continue? Does it hold above 27 here? Depends on where the Bulldog is forming. So this one would have been VWAP because this one is obviously just running into VWAP. So if it's forming far below VWAP and you can target VWAP, you always target VWAP. So VWAP, VWAP, both VWAPs obviously. If it's forming above VWAP, then you just target prior value, Fibonacci targets, etc. Yeah, it just really depends on where it's forming. There's that lowercase b that I talked about. So now we're turning more into a lowercase b. So they should be selling the bounces into VWAP, into the value high, if they want to continue that downtrend. The big reason for us to go down has been repaired. It was that incomplete auction. The OTS trail is pretty much the same as a moving average, so you would treat it the same way you treat moving averages if you're trading those. Here was a 1 minute bull div trade. It's hard for me to cover everything, guys. The day is moving very quickly. Trying my best. But here is that bull div trade if you missed it. On the low, you had a pivot with a purple shading, so there's a combo trade there as well. Then you had a lower low with a higher low, also a purple shading. Like I said on the Monday stream, when you have these bull divs, a good target is the trail. And then if it starts staying above the trail, you can look for a bigger trade. But the shorter trade, just the really quick trade, is a bull div into the trail. So the trail right there at 29 was hit, which is a pretty big trade actually. It doesn't look like it. That's a 7-point trade. You had the same trade on NASDAQ as well. Higher low, lower low, bounced into the trail. So trail target was achieved there. So we are breaking pretty much every single trail. Let's keep going to a higher time frame until we find one. Took out the 1 hour, took out the 4 hour. Here's the 8 hour. So a little bit of support coming in at 120. The daily trail, let's take a look. Way down at 780, 22,780. So we have some room to fall there. Chris, I removed your message because it just kind of came off as like promoting another channel, which I typically don't like. But yeah, I'm not going to ban you or anything. It's not that serious. Just letting you know why I removed it. Oh, did I misread it, Chris? Sorry, let me reread it. Let me reread it, make sure I didn't read it wrong. I apologize if I did. Want a Mauser? I want a future. No, I'm not banning people. I just remove messages. If I'm banning somebody, I usually tell them I'm banning them. So they know that the reason why. If I'm just removing a message, then it's different. Chris has been here a long time. He's not going to do something stupid to get banned. It was just a message that I felt like was promoting another channel, so I removed it. I don't mind you guys talking about other channels, but it's just how it comes off, right? If it's like overly promoting another channel and it's kind of like telling people to go watch somebody else, it's just kind of bad mannered. But like I said, I might have misread it. You don't go into somebody's restaurant and then tell them to go tell all the customers to go eat across the street, you know what I mean? Just kind of bad mannered. But yeah, I have been more hard on messages recently. I'm not going into long rants anymore. I'm just tired. So if I see something I don't like, I'm just removing it, and then if it keeps happening, you're gonna get banned. I think people that have been here for years are probably tired at this point of me repeating myself for 30 minutes. And now that I have my chat rules, you guys know the rules, right? There's only like three or four rules. It's not hard to follow. I don't have that as a rule of like not promoting other channels. That's just kind of like internet etiquette, I guess. It's still technically in that Bulldog trade unless you just fully closed it at VWAP. As long as you continue to put in higher lows, it is still in that trade. It looks like it is rolling over a little bit. You're putting in those lower highs here, so starting to fail that trail. It depends on what you mean by profile delta, because I'm kind of doing that right now. Well, it depends on what you mean. If you mean like on the left side of this candle, how it's not a profile, it's just kind of like looking at it level by level. A delta profile, like in the sense of like the actual profile, like the bars and whatnot, it doesn't give you that much information. I think looking at the volume profile and then just looking at the delta on each level is better. Bobby, I would say this is more of a bear flag in a VWAP. You had a micro pullback with the Bulldog trade, but the Bulldog trade was just targeting VWAP for the most part. So the bear flag in the VWAP is still in play. But if you weren't in a trade and you were looking for like a buy trade, there was a Bulldog there to target VWAP. It's kind of like a waiting game, right? Like you were waiting for VWAP, and now it's already it's causing a bit of sell pressure. Yeah, Mauser, I think I remember you saying that. It was like Future Trader or whatever his name was, right? Future something. He was a guy that's been around for a long time. And he finally called it quits. Yeah, FT71. Yeah, I remember him. He seemed like a good guy. I don't watch that much trading content, so I can't really like tell you guys who to watch and who not to watch. But I clicked on his videos every now and then. He seemed like a genuine guy. He was kind of old school. Like he's been doing the YouTube finance stuff for a long time. He restarted. Did he restart his YouTube again, or do you mean like in that time? Oh, is he back? He's fully back? I didn't know that. I haven't seen his messages or not messages, his videos. I haven't seen his videos pop up again. Gotcha. Okay. So probably the YouTube algorithm doesn't like him just yet because he just restarted. Yeah, like I said, I don't really consume a lot of trading content because I spend so much time making it. When I want to log off, I don't go on there and keep watching content, you know what I mean? Usually the ones that pop up on my feed are the people you want to avoid. It's the ones that the YouTube algorithm is really pushing because they're doing all the cringy stuff to play into the YouTube algorithm. This indicator could make you a millionaire in a week. Stuff like that. This is the best indicator I've ever used. And then the next day they make, this is the best indicator I've ever used. Same exact video. It's just so ridiculous. Yeah, if you guys found my channel just organically through the YouTube algorithm, that's because your algorithm is probably a lot slower. Like, you guys don't consume a lot of the brain rot content. Yeah, I consume the brain rot. I'm still here. Yeah, a little brain rot now and then is not terrible. I think it has its place. Everything in moderation, right? The only brain rot that I typically look at is Instagram Reels every now and then. There's some funny stuff on there. Yeah, I get most of my viewership, I think, from like just people telling their friends and kind of word of mouth. The vast majority of my like YouTube growth is only from like 2 or 3 videos, which is kind of the same for most people who have decent sized subscribers. They usually have like one video that blows up. Keep an eye on VWAP here, mainly the session VWAP. If they stay below 35 on ES, where's the session on NASDAQ? Around 240 on NQ. It's still a bear flag. It seems like the bear flag on the daily VWAP is failing. So you tried to have the bear flag in the VWAP the second time around here, putting in a higher low. So as we always say with that bear flag in the VWAP, you want it to be one smooth, continuous move back down to the lows. If you start putting in higher lows like that, that trade is dying. Big block trade on NASDAQ, 600 contracts, 199. But yeah, everybody's content has a place, right? I'm not going to overly bash like brain rot content, cringe content, because people obviously watch it. It very clearly has a place. Just not for me. Hey, Bobby, have a good day, man. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I look at zero prints every now and then, if they're very obvious. I don't think we have any zero prints right now. We have a zero print right here. Zero print at 63.20 and a half. They normally get filled in. Good morning, Dark. Yeah, exactly, Jesse. Yeah, it's a big difference between like futures trading and options trading is if you're not theta positive on options, you're going to be getting bled out. If your trade plan, you expected it to happen in 30 minutes and it's taking 5 hours. But if you do that same thing on NASDAQ, or sorry, on futures, and you take like a short and you're like, okay, it's going to take 30 minutes, but it ends up taking 5 hours, it's not a big deal. There's no negative theta. Here comes that session VWAP. Keep an eye on that. They are a bit. It's a bit different on NASDAQ. So if NASDAQ goes for the session VWAP, you're going to have to break the session VWAP a little bit on ES. So be careful there. Keep an eye on NASDAQ. It's so far away, it would have to bounce a little bit more. Zero prints are just when you have a zero on the delta. So instead of having a positive or a negative, it's like 100% equal. So it's at zero. And it's kind of like a single print. It's just like very rare to see that, so people want to fix it. The delta is at a 100% equilibrium. Well, a bear flag is exactly what you're seeing right now. It's a strong impulse down and then a slow move up. So a bear flag into VWAP is when price is below VWAP and slowly moving back into it. Now, this is getting a little bit aggressive for a bear flag into VWAP. You're getting a lot of block trades here. Another block trade, 500 contracts at 207. And this is probably the issue that I was just talking about. There's another block trade, 250 contracts on NASDAQ. If NASDAQ continues this type of buy pressure, it's going to have to break VWAP on ES, which it kind of already is. This all started from that bull div. That bull div is still kind of in effect here. This low here created a bull div. That was the bull div that we covered earlier on the 1 minute. You had a purple shading, blue pivot, bull div, bounced into the trail, held above the trail. Now we flipped the trail on NASDAQ, 2 buy signals on the trail, and now we're bouncing off the trail. Here's a great example, actually. Let me show you. This is a great example of what I mean with the trap, right? So we have the longer term momentum kind of flattening out. It's in that upper area looking for a high, right? And then look at the short term. Beautiful cupping pattern. And there's the confirmation. You're bouncing off the trail. Trail buy signal, trail buy signal. And then you have the red to green on the OTS. So beautiful example of a trap. Keep that picture in the back of your mind. Or that cupping pattern. When you have that cupping pattern on that trail like that, typically a trap. So the sellers are being trapped here. And there's that bull div that I talked about earlier. The thing about the Momo and the OTS is like once you start using them properly, there is damn near a signal on every single major point, like major high, major low, whatever. There's damn near going to be a signal every single time. Like there's going to be a pivot, there's going to be a bull div, there's going to be some type of shading. It's just how do you filter those, right? You need to use the confluence with the other indicators, the VWAPs, the delta, whatever it may be. the volume nodes, whatever. Who is that, Mauser? Is that another Fed member? I don't recognize that name. It's not looking good for Powell. I was looking at kind of what they're talking about with the building and how much money he's spending and what he talked about when they were asking him questions about it and possibly did he perjure himself, yada, yada, yada. It's not looking too good. So I think the likelihood of him resigning or being removed is pretty high. That's a huge bond trader. Gotcha. I'm assuming we will have a definitive. By the way, keep an eye on VWAP here. Fail on VWAP on ES. You're in that danger zone between both VWAPs. You need to get below it. I think we'll have a definitive answer on that within the next week or two. Depending on how hard they push for it, I'd say like 2 weeks. Right now, it seems like the strategy is to pressure him with the criminal investigation and doing a full audit and et cetera, et cetera. They're trying to pressure him into resigning so they don't have to be the first time in history of removing a Fed chair and then taking it to court, and it goes on for X amount of months. I try not to predict stuff like that. It's just too political. It's too like polarizing. There's just too many factors. Very hard to predict. But what I will say is, if he resigns, I think that is a better outcome for the markets, as opposed to him being removed. If he is removed and they go to fight it in court, like I said, for X amount of months, I mean, good luck. Like, that's going to be a nightmare. If he resigns, I think it won't be that bad. It'll probably be a couple of bad days. The market will react. And then we'll find out the plan on how they're going to replace him and yada, yada, yada. It'll be a lot smoother transition if he resigns. I mean, I think the markets would react probably the best if nothing happens. But yeah, I try not to predict stuff like that. There's just way too many variables that go into it. I mean, you would think the argument, and I don't want to get into this really. I really don't want to get into like what you guys think and what I think, and it's all just bullshit, right? We're all just guessing. But you would think the argument is that it would be pretty bullish for the market because the whole reason that he is being removed is he doesn't want to aggressively cut rates. And if they start cutting rates, cutting rates is typically seen as bullish. Like usually the outcome with the market is bullish. So you would have to argue that if he's removed, the likelihood of rate cuts goes up, typically seen as bullish, right? But is it bullish enough to outweigh him being removed? That's the big question. But yeah, like I said, it's too political, too many variables. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. We're all just guessing. So who knows? Okay, this is possibly the problem that I was talking about earlier where NASDAQ is trying to hit VWAP, so it's pushing ES through VWAP. We saw this happen, I think it was yesterday or Friday. I believe it was yesterday. Yeah, but long story short, it's something that has never happened before. So, like all these predictions that we're making, like I said, we have no idea. We have nothing to base this off of. This has never happened before. There has never been a time that a president has removed the federal chair. It's like trying to predict earnings. Like, good luck. You might as well put a coin on your desk. So I'm not going to predict it. I'm just going to react to it, and we'll see how the headlines come out. Like I said, I think it will be over probably the next few weeks, if I had to guess. They seem to be ramping up the pressure on it. I just hope whoever he replaces him with, if he is getting replaced, hopefully he's not boring to watch in the press conferences because we have to watch every single one of those. So. All right, it's the last thing I'm going to say, and we're going to move on because I'm not getting into it. We already argued this point last time we brought this up. He does have the power to remove him. You guys can look up the exact quote from the, what is it called, the Federal Reserve Act or whatever it is. So this idea that he doesn't have the power, he does. The problem is, it is very vague. It says he can remove him for cause. So the argument is, does he have the cause to remove him? The argument is not, does he have the power? He has the power. It is written in law. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to argue this point. I'm not going to die on this hill. So we're going to move on. But yeah, I believe it's called the Federal Reserve Act or whatever act it is. You guys can look it up if you want the exact details. Yeah, it's one of those things where like he has the power, but the courts are going to decide. long story short, for you guys that are not in the US and you're like, what the hell is going on over here? The reason we care about this is because it's just uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. The market doesn't like uncertainty. Uncertainty is typically bearish. It doesn't matter what the uncertainty is from. It is typically bearish. Which is why every time these headlines come out about this topic, the market starts dropping. Because the market doesn't know what to do. And if it doesn't know what to do, it wants to go down. Yeah, Chris, it takes everything. If you have a screenshot of like anything trading related, it should take it. I'm not seeing any glaring issues with that bot. So like I said, if you guys see any glaring issues or it just keeps making mistakes on like the same thing, please post them in the channel so I can correct it. But I haven't had too much to correct recently. It's been doing a good job. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but it does a damn good job. Yeah, exactly, Sean. And that's what I try to push to you guys whenever we talk about politics and everything, which is very rare, because I try not to talk about it. But it does not, the market doesn't give a shit what you think about politics. We care about what the market thinks. I don't care what your opinion is. I don't care whether you like Powell or don't like Powell, you like Trump, you don't like Trump. The market doesn't care. What does the market think? That's what we care about. Does number go up or does number go down? And I try to press to you guys that it's one of the worst things for traders if you're overly political. Like if you have a strong political bias and you're allowing that to dictate your trades, it's going to be painful. You need to try to remove that bias from your trading. What do you mean, Chris? Do you mean like me as the owner? Am I able to see what you guys are asking it? Is that what you're asking? This is still a bear flag in a VWAP, by the way. As long as we are staying below this daily VWAP at 32, we need to continuously put in lower highs and lower lows. No, I cannot, Chris. No, nothing on Chat GPT is stored like that. So you guys are perfectly fine. There's no like invasion of privacy or anything like that. The whole like benefit of the custom program that I'm making is, for example, like if you open up a chat with Athena right now, and if I deleted the database, it would just be a very normal Chat GPT program. There'd be nothing custom about it. You would ask it questions, it would learn from your chat, you would close the chat, you would have to restart it. So you'd start a new chat, and it doesn't know anything you talked about. The benefit of the custom one is I can build a database that becomes its like basic knowledge. It becomes its basic way that it answers questions, its way that it reads charts, its understanding of these proprietary indicators like the Momo, the OTS, the VWAPs, all that stuff, whatever. So right out of the gate, without having to teach it, it already has that information. So that's the benefit of the custom one. Now, if you guys are using charts that are very different from mine, like different colors, different software, all that stuff, you do have to go through that teaching process of like telling it, hey, this is how you read this chart. This is what this colored line means. This is what this colored line is over here, etc., etc. If you're using my workspaces and relatively the same colors as me, it will understand how to read them. Like it understands what the purple shading is on the Momo. It understands what the gold shading is. But if you change those colors, it's not going to read it the same. So it's basically just personalized. It's a personalized chat program. This is a very slow bear flag in the VWAP, which is a little bit dangerous because you don't have that bearish impulse kind of pushing you below VWAP here. Well, that's normal, Dab. That's how it should be. Gold traders, most commodity traders want to be inverse dollar for the most part. Yeah, another thing you guys can do with Athena is if you use the exact term training module, it has training modules on the playbook videos. So if you ask it to bring up training modules, it will bring up things that I wrote. It should at least. It will bring up a written module with the link to the video, etc., etc. And it talks about like the proper entry, proper exit, how do you use your targets, etc. A lot of bullish delta coming in here, which is invalidating that bear flag in the VWAP, putting in a higher low, possibly a higher high. Keep an eye on this VWAP here. Look at these block trades coming in, 700 contracts, 222 on NASDAQ. And this is exactly what I was just saying about the bearish delta not being very strong. You want to see that bearish delta, that bearish impulse on ES or anything when you're hitting VWAP like that. If you have that bear flag in a VWAP, you need to see that impulse. You're just not seeing it. Good morning, Over. So here's the 5-minute trail bearishly. They need to stay above 36 to break that trail. And then the 30-minute trail bearishly is at 43. So keep an eye on these back tests of these trails. The only trail you flipped so far is the 1 minute. It flipped it back at 10:32. It's currently at 32, funny enough. So our big reason to go down has been completed, so that's why we're probably getting a lot of buy pressure here. That incomplete auction has been repaired. You missed it by like 1 point on ES, but you did repair it on NQ. And that was just the value retrace of Thursday. This would have created single prints, but it's the A candle. The A candle can't create single prints unless you're looking at the full profile. You can treat it the same way. There are single prints going up to like 260. You don't have them on ES. This would be the repair right now. The very strong bullish delta cluster here. They need to stay above 32, which is also where that trail is. Yeah, we do have another poor low. They love doing that. Over a game, I have an order flow playlist that kind of goes over those topics. And then I have like a playbook series that talks about like different trades using some order flow topics, but mostly just like volume profile and maybe like candlesticks as well. Yeah, most of my videos are teaching order flow and volume profile. Here is that top doji being retested. They really do not want to lose 32. That's an extremely top-heavy candle. The top half of that candle is very strong bullish delta. So if they lose that 32, these traders are pretty trapped. Yeah, the next best playlist would be the playbook series. Typically, I tell people to watch volume profile, then order flow, then playbook, once you understand all the concepts. Because the playbook gets into like the nitty gritty of the actual setups, and if you don't understand the concepts, you're not going to understand the setups. Failing to break that 30-minute high. It's only 2 minutes in, but it is still failing. This is Addis. If I pull up my other screen, it's Trading View. So I use Addis and Trading View. It's ATAS, Addis. There's a link in the description for a free trial. I've never used Sierra, so I can't recommend them. I haven't used any platforms in many years except for this and NinjaTrader. Last time I used Quant Tower was like over 5 years ago. I don't know DMC. All I know is they are working on it. I don't have a release date. I think so, Astro. I immediately switched over to Addis when I tried them out. I was using NT for many years, and I pretty much switched right away. Quant Tower is free with AMP. Yeah, yeah. I think it's is it free for everything or just crypto? I know they used to be free for crypto. But you have to have an AMP futures account. Free for everything, but it's limited. Gotcha. So it's not like their full plan. Okay, they are protecting the low of that node. They have to hold on to 32. Losing 32 is very bad. No order flow tools on the free version. So kind of pointless, right? I mean, it's basically an order flow platform. And I guess if you want like a basic charting platform, that's fine. But I feel like the whole point of using that platform is for the order flow side. In a bit of a channel right now. Keep an eye on that channel. Yeah, one of the big problems with trading is I'm sure you guys have started to realize free does not really exist in this world, in this trading world. Anything that's good in trading and finance, you're gonna have to pay for. There's not a whole lot of free. I mean, we're in the business of making money, so free is always just a teaser, yeah. When it's free, you're the product. Yeah, that's always a really good quote to remember. TradingView is very good except for order flow. They don't do order flow very good because of the data. Their data's bad. Like I was saying, it's like fruit of the poisonous tree, right? The data is poisoned. They don't have they don't have good data, right? Their data is a lot slower. Their data is not tick by tick. So this is kind of what we were talking about earlier with NASDAQ slowly pushing to the session VWAP. It will cause ES to break above VWAP because VWAP is so far away on NASDAQ. Kind of losing momentum here, though. You're kind of rolling over. Hitting a 1 minute pivot, keeping on that 1 minute trail. Yeah, Thinkorswim is free to a certain degree, I believe. Like, obviously, you have to have an account and all that stuff. Thinkorswim is not an order flow platform, though. They are a fairly basic charting and options platform. They are not a futures platform. They just offer futures so they don't lose your business. Yeah, exactly. They use snapshot data kind of like TradingView. Anything that uses basketed like snapshot data, it's too slow for order flow. That's why Addis is so good. They have like the fastest data stream. Yeah, anybody that's not a futures trading platform, but they offer it as a way to keep your business, their commissions are typically ridiculous. They're very high. Starting to get pretty weak on NASDAQ here. Keep it on that 1 minute trail. You're really starting to lose momentum. If you re-lose this VWAP, it's probably going to start coming down a bit. Just keep an eye on all those trails. Momentum is starting to be lost, so if they lose the trails, looks pretty weak. You're either looking for a spike in momentum to break that rollover in momentum, or you're looking for a loss of the trails. Those are the two things you're keeping an eye on. Right now, we're kind of in the middle of this channel, so a lot of chop happening. You can see a micro pullback doji. These micro pullback dojis are very indecisive. You don't typically know what's going on here until the high or low of that candle is taken out. Yeah, I don't think so. I wish they did. XM. I wish Addis had like a paintbrush tool where you could draw on your charts a bit more. I don't think they do. Yeah, what Sierra Charts needs, and I don't know if they have this, they need like a workspace or like a template database where people can upload their workspaces and templates and people can just go kind of download them. From what I've seen, from what I've heard, it's just a pain in the ass to make their workspaces and templates, so that would probably help a lot of people. Or they should just have a big database of ones they created, which would make it easier. Okay, keep an eye on VWAP here. This is that drop in momentum that I was talking about. Let's see if they can stay below these trails. 1 minute trails being lost, 5 minute trail being retested, possibly as a bear flag. Here's those 1 minute trails. You can see it's kind of rolling over, losing the trails. You can see on the 5 minute here, sell signal, sell, sell, sell. So you have a bear flag into the trail there. Higher time frames. Let's take a look at the 15. 15 a little bit early. Still had room to climb. But it is in a pinch. Little bearish pinch there. 30 minute, also a little bit early. Failing the ADMA, not the trail. So a bit more aggressive on the 30 minute. Yeah, keep an eye on these 1 minutes. Starting to roll over and lose those trails. We'll see if they can flip red here. Flipping the trails red. Let's see if it locks it in. Then you want to see a lower high below that, and that really confirms it. Possibly putting in a 1 minute pivot here. A little bit of a stair step. All right, this bounce back into the trail here, very important because if it just slices right back through it, then you're just kind of chopping, you're distributing, right? You're not going into a trend. But if it can fail that back test almost immediately, then it is going into a trend. One thing I saw yesterday, a little bit off topic, was they're pushing for the pattern day trader rule to be removed again. Now, everyone's excited about this, but they've pushed for this rule to be removed for like decades and it has not been removed. So I bet nothing's going to happen. But that goes for mostly stock traders, doesn't really affect futures traders. But the pattern day trader rule stops people from day trading like penny stocks or just really anything. Just stops them from day trading at all more than 3 times a week if they have less than $25,000. They're trying to reduce that to $2,000. But like I said, they've been trying to remove this rule since it was put in place like 20 plus years ago. And it has not been removed. So I wouldn't get your hopes up. It is one of the dumbest rules in trading that should not exist. So it should be removed, but we'll see. But yeah, they pushed a I forget what they called it, like a policy change or something to FINRA. And I think you should know in the next like 3 months if it gets removed. Yeah, 2,000 instead of 25,000. Yep. Which, like, that is more reasonable. I think they should just remove it entirely, but that is more reasonable. Because that kind of fits the options trading and the futures market. Right now, the 25,000 makes absolutely no sense because you can day trade futures. You can trade really risky options with like no money in your account. You can lose more money than you even have in your account. It just makes no sense. Yeah, it's a good point. For all it might, I don't think it would have a massive impact. But as far as like retail traders, it might decrease the popularity of retail trading futures a little bit because people can go back to like trading penny stocks and it's going to boom penny stocks. If that does pass, I might even go back to trading penny stocks a bit more because I think penny stocks will start exploding. whenever that rule does finally get removed, the market that will benefit the most is definitely penny stocks. If you guys remember back in Discord when we did those small account challenges with penny stocks many years ago, back in like 2020 and before 2020, it was a pain in the ass because we would have to do. We were doing small account challenges, so we had like $5,000, or I think the lowest one we did was like $1,000, and we couldn't day trade that much. We would only be able to day trade like 3 times. And even what doesn't make sense even more is, let's say I take a day trade on penny stocks and I buy a position. If I sell that position twice, that is 2 day trades. So you can't even like get in and get out multiple times because it counts as multiple day trades. It's so stupid. It's by far like the worst rule in trading. But yeah, long story short, if that does get passed, penny stocks will probably be booming. So we'll probably go back to trading penny stocks a bit more. I'm not going to stop trading futures, but just on the side, we might be trading penny stocks a little bit. They used to be a big part of our Discord. We used to trade penny stocks quite often. But not too much anymore. It's really hard to trade futures and penny stocks at the same time because penny stocks, you really have to trade the first hour of the day. Like that's where they really move. And that's also when you want to trade futures, right? So they kind of conflict. We're trying to quickly reclaim that trail, so it's trying to not be trending here. It's trying to just chop out and distribute. Yeah, Robinhood would do well. Robinhood, funny enough, does not have access to a lot of penny stocks from what I've seen. They don't have like the biggest catalog of penny stocks. It's mostly Thinkorswim. Thinkorswim has a really good catalog. I've been out of the penny game for a while, so I don't know if Robinhood has gotten better. But back when we were trading pennies a couple of years ago, you had to trade it on Thinkorswim because Robinhood did not have the data for a lot of those like dog shit penny stocks that nobody trades. Kind of the pink sheets, the OTCs. How do I trade futures with a day job? I don't. I don't have a day job. This is my day job. If you're asking me how I would recommend it, I would recommend, if you possibly can, trading the first hour of the day, possibly the last hour of the day. You don't have to be like trading all day long. Try to find a time that you can trade for like an hour, maybe 2 hours. And preferably, if you could, I would try to trade 9:30 to 11:30 Eastern time, the first 2 hours of the day. If you can't make that work, try to make the last hour of the day work. If you can't make that work, then it's just not going to work, right? I mean, you can try to trade the post market, but the post market is very slow. If you want to trade the post market and the pre-market, you just need to be a very patient trader. These moves take a lot longer typically. I mean, look at the difference in just the last couple of days. Like, these moves are pretty good. They're not bad moves. But look at how slow it is. Look at how fast these are. And then same thing here. Very slow, and then boom, fast. So you can make the post-market and pre-market work. It's just a lot slower. You got to be very patient. Yeah, the London session has not been bad recently, so it depends on your time zone because the London session is the worst session for US, like sleep wise. That's when most of us are sleeping. But if you can make it work in your schedule, the London session is not bad. It's around like 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern time. But that's, like I said, that's when most of us are sleeping. So if you guys are European or Asian traders and you can make that time frame work from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern time, um, to put that into perspective, that's about 8 hours from now, earlier than now, not later. About 8 hours earlier than right now, to about 4 hours earlier from right now, if you want to compare it to your time, or just use Google, it's a lot easier. But yeah, that time zone is not terrible. That is the London and Asian market overlap. So it's kind of like how we trade the London US overlap. The European and Asian traders can trade their overlap. Yeah, trading with a day job is really not terrible. It just really depends on what your job is, right? Like if you're an office worker and you can have trading stuff up and not get fired. If you work from home, if you can trade for like an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, it's not terrible. Obviously, if you're like out there building houses and construction and doing shit like that, then you're not going to be able to do it. Yeah, like I said, that's typically what I recommend. I don't recommend you guys quit your jobs. I think that's a fantasy that channels like to push. I recommend a obviously a balance. I think it's also good for people too. Like if you could manage trading for like the first hour of the day, the first 2 hours of the day, it really makes you focus, right? You need to focus on those 2 hours. Yeah, quit your job and buy my indicator. Exactly, right. Yeah, it's extremely hard. It's stressful, especially if you're quitting everything. Like I said, I've been there, right? I've done it. I can tell you from experience, it is not fun. Now, obviously, it ended up working. I made it work, but it's not easy. That's the same thing. You said, why do I trade on Tradeovate if I can trade on Apex? I do both. I trade on Apex on Tradeovate. So I have my personal account on Tradeovate, and I have my copy traded accounts on Apex on Tradeovate. So they're both in the same place, so I can trade them at the same time. That's why I choose to use the Tradeovate accounts on Apex, because that's where I'm used to trading. Getting a lot of chop here. We just keep chopping through that trail, so no directional bias here. NASDAQ trying to reclaim the trail. Very strong 1 minute candle there. Yeah, exactly, Tiny. Like finding the trading windows that you like to trade in, like the little 2 hour time frames. Like for the most part, I trade mostly from 9:30 to 11:30. I don't trade a whole lot from like 12 to like 2ish. I don't have a lot of trades in that time period unless it depends on what's happening, right? But usually I don't have a lot of trades in that time period. And then around like 2:30 to 3ish, it starts to pick up a little bit more. So like 2 to the close, basically 2 p.m. to the close. It's like first 2 hours, last 2 hours. The big thing you're watching for from like 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock is that one chart that I show you guys. So like we're keeping an eye on where that 12 o'clock profile is beginning. And are we looking for breakouts? Are we looking for reversals back into morning value? That sort of thing. But yeah, around like 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, you got to be careful. There's a lot of weird stuff going on around that time. A lot of Fed stuff, a lot of macro stuff. Certain futures markets are like closing around that time. I think the best trading for most people is when I stream in the morning, right? 9:30 to 11:30. The second best is the close, the last like hour and a half. And then if you can trade in between, it really needs to be like really good setups. It needs to be clean. Or preferably, you're like holding on to trades. Like you had a good trade around like 11, 11:30, 12, whatever, and you're just trailing it. You're trailing it for that like hour or two. That's like preferably what happens. Because that's usually a good time to trail trades because it's kind of slow and boring. Yeah, Thinkorswim is very good for penny stocks. That's who we used for all of our penny stock challenges, all of our small account challenges. Like I said, if they pass that rule, we will definitely be trading penny stocks more. So you guys will see that more on the channel if that gets passed. I would love to do some more small account challenges. That's how I like to trade penny stocks. It's pretty fun. I treat it like I don't treat it as like a source of income. It's kind of like a gambling thing where it's my fun side of trading. I'm doing it more for fun, not for the money. I mean, if I'm making money and the account's doing well, it's obviously a bonus. But it's more so just to kind of have fun trading. But that would make our small account challenges very easy. We were already doing a good job when we had that PDT rule, and that was a pain in the ass. Because a lot of the times we had to hold them overnight, which holding penny stocks overnight is a nightmare. We're still inside that micro pullback candle. Like I said, when you have candles like this, where you have like an impulse candle, and then you go instantly into a doji, this creates either an accumulation or a distribution phase. And you don't really know what's going on inside of that candle. You need to see strong pressure above or strong pressure below. Inside is just chop. And that's why we're getting chopped into oblivion here. Over game, I think that's a self-explanatory question, man. I think you're just looking for me to make you feel better and confirm that for you, but I think you can answer that on your own. I'm trying to understand your question. You said if the market structure is broken during the overnight session, but then it's reclaimed during the day session, is the market structure considered broken? So you're kind of saying, like, if you were going up yesterday and then you start going up again on the pre-market, but then you break it a little bit, and then you start going up again on the cash, does that break really mean anything? It just depends. It really depends on, like, did you lose a lot of value there? Did it sweep something? Did it like put in like massive single prints? Like, was there like a CPI print or something like that? Like, there's just a lot of variables that go into that. It depends on what is happening on the overnight that is causing these big moves. That gives them more power, right? If it's just like slow chop, there's not really any headlines, it's just kind of doing its own thing, then you don't really care. But if it's like a CPI print, there's like a big headline, maybe some, I don't know, like a tariff headline or chips or something, then obviously you want to pay attention to it. So long story short, it really depends on what's causing it. Unleashed, if I go back to penny stock trading, it's mostly scanners. So you're using like Hive Day scanners, low float scanners, block trade scanners, like all kinds of scanners. If you guys watched my stream back in the day when we did this more often, literally my entire screen like this would be covered in scanners. Now I can't do that this time around because I got in trouble last time. And the company that I use scanners, they do not like me streaming their scanners. So I can't do that anymore. But we'll still probably be using something similar. Trump is speaking? What is he speaking on? Isn't he speaking to like the Philippine president or prime minister or whatever? Yeah, Philippines president. Yeah. Shouldn't be too crazy. Yeah, I haven't penny stock traded on stream for years. I think the last time we did it was around when Biden took office, so around like 2020, 2021. That's when penny stocks were booming. Penny stocks do well around presidential elections and like inaugurations for some reason. Maybe it's like the risk involved. But yeah, our last small account challenge we did, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to just make it up. I think it was around, I think we started with 1,000 or 2,000 and we grew it to like 5,000 or 6,000 in the span of like a week or two. That was our last challenge we did. I believe that was 21, I want to say, but I'm not sure. That was one of our best streaks we've ever had with penny stocks. We had a 4-day period, or it's like 4 or 5 days. We had over 100% gain on our penny stocks every day. It was from like, I think it was like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. That was back when we were trading lithium. We were trading lithium and EV penny stocks. Funny enough, if you guys remember NEO was one of the penny stocks we were trading. Because at the time, it was a penny stock. It was trading like $2 or something like that, like $1.50 or whatever. And that thing went up to, I don't even want to see, what was it? Yeah, it went It went up to $67 to $70. We started trading that thing around like $2 to $3, I believe it was. We obviously did not hold on to it till $70. That would have been disgusting. Yeah, that was one of our big ones. And then a bunch of dog shit stocks that I couldn't even think of. Don't even remember the names. When we trade pennies, we do not give a shit like anything about their business, really. The biggest thing we care about is like the sector. Like, is it an EV? Is it a healthcare? Whatever. But we don't care about, do they make money? Are they a scam? The whole idea of penny stock trading is basically a Ponzi scheme. You're trying to get in with the crowd and get out before other people. It's like playing hot potato. The only pattern you trade in penny stock trading usually is a bull flag, where you see the impulse goes up, you start getting it on your scanners because it's impulsing, the volume is spiking, yada yada. So it starts popping up on the scanners, it starts to slow down a little bit, then you start getting in, and then you hope that it booms again, right? You hope that it goes up and has another impulse. If it doesn't, then obviously you lose money. Yeah, Lucid, we were trading Lucid. Yeah, we shifted from our penny stock trading into SPAC trading. That was a big shift because SPAC started going crazy. Yeah, penny stocks are kind of a zero-sum game, yeah. But yeah, like I said, if they actually change that rule in the next few months, we'll give it a shot. We'll try again. It just became a pain in the ass trying to do those small account challenges with not being able to day trade. The worst part about it is, like I said, let's say I want to do a small account challenge. I put $5,000 in. Like I said earlier, this is like gambling. This is not like good trading. We're risk management. Yes, we're doing the basics, but we're breaking a lot of rules. So we're basically throwing our entire account at these positions, at these dog shit companies that nobody cares about. So we're putting like $5,000 into a penny stock, and then we're trying to get out of it, right? Big spike in Delta here, possibly breaking this 30-minute candle. Just keep an eye on that 39 level. And we're trying to get out of it, right? Now, normally, if you're trading penny stocks, normally, you're going to be laddering out aggressively. So if you buy, let's say it's $1 stock, you buy 5,000 shares. You're not going to sell 5,000 shares. Like, you're not just going to press sell 5,000 because you're going to get slippage. You're going to get ridiculous slippage. So you're going to try to ladder out. Like, I'll sell 500, 500, 500, 1,000, 500, 200, whatever. If you try to do that with a PDT, you're done. The second you close 3 of those, that's 3 day trades. It's so brain dead. It makes no sense. It should be based on, I opened it as one position, so whenever I close those shares, that's still one position. But that's not how they look at it. They look at every individual close as a day trade. So a lot of the times we had to hold them overnight, which funny enough actually helped us sometimes. Sometimes they would blow up overnight. We had one of them, worst case scenario. We had to hold it overnight. The thing got delisted. But thankfully they still allowed us to like sell it and close our position. But yeah, it got delisted overnight, which is like the worst case. How big is the issue of liquidity? It's massive. Yeah, if you're trading penny stocks, liquidity is a massive issue. Which is why I don't trade it with like normal size. We're just doing small account challenges. like I said, penny stock trading for me is not like a source of income. It's not like we're not looking to make a shit ton of money. It's mostly just for fun. The money is a bonus. Yeah, and that's why I don't really trade penny stocks on stream anymore. We don't really talk about them on Discord either, because it's an extremely gray area where you're almost becoming like a pump and dump channel because penny stocks liquidity is so bad, especially now. Like we were moving penny stocks back when my channel was nowhere near this big. So if I was doing it now, we would probably be moving penny stocks. So I'd have to be very careful. There is a very fine line between like trading penny stocks on stream and becoming a pump and dump signal group. Because even if like 10 of my members were trading the penny stock with like $5,000, we are damn near market making that penny stock. Because the volume on these things that we're trading is so bad. Crypto for you is penny stock trading? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of how we treated it back in the day as well. We are just trying to get out of this 30-minute candle, guys. We are just stuck inside this distribution candle. 39 to 30. Yeah, if I did go back to trading penny stocks on stream, I would probably have to do it in a way where I'm obviously not telling you guys like what I'm trading. I'm not trading it live. I'd probably have to do it in a way where like I build a watch list where I'm like, all right, guys, these are the top 3 names that we're keeping an eye on, and these are the things we're looking for. But I can't like tell you guys, all right, guys, I'm buying here. Becomes way too dangerous. We went pretty hard on our last penny stock thing back in like I think it was 21. We were trading this one pharmaceutical company that had they had like I forget what they call it. It's not like an FDA approval, but they had like a board meeting where they were trying to get approved for something, and we were all trying to like bet on if it was going to be passed or not. Ended up not passing, unfortunately, so we had to close that one for a loss. But I remember we were taking it so far, like we were looking up the people on the board, and we were seeing like, okay, how do they vote on these issues? We were trying to figure out like how they would vote. It was a lot of fun. No, Chris, it was like some random. I think I actually remember the name. Wasn't it? Wasn't it Amrin? Yeah, Amrin. AMRN. I don't know how I just pulled that out of my head, but that is exactly who it was. Amrin. Oh, they had stock splits, I believe. Is this the right company? I think this is the right company. This might not be it. Because they should have been around like $4, I think they were, around like 2020, 2021. But now it's saying they were $100. So they might have had a stock split, but I'm not sure. Oh, they did. Yep. Here's a stock split. Yep. They had a 20-to-1 stock split. Yep. So that's exactly who it was. Yeah, I think it was that candle right there on August 2020 is when we were trading that, and we were trying to see if it was going to have um, that board vote, and they lost it, so it dropped. It might have been 2021. It was 2020 or 2021. But yeah, fun times. We were trading a lot of pharmaceutical companies, trading a lot of EV companies, lithium. No, I don't day trade options. I don't really day trade at all except for futures. Overgame, I didn't really explain it. I said that you could figure that out on your own. Because you asked me if you could slowly make trading your main source of income. I think that's self-explanatory. If you couldn't do it, I don't think anybody would do it, right? That's like asking any job, like, can you make this job a main source of income? The answer is yes, like for most jobs. Can you do it personally? That's up to you. It's like asking somebody like if they can make blackjack a main source of income. Like there are probably some people that can do that. Yes. Is it a good idea for most people? Probably not. You guys are getting the full experience of the micro pullback candle right now. You are just stuck between this 9-point range. Yeah, TD sequential is what it's called. Um, it had a big time back in crypto, as like every trading system did. I'm not really a big fan. Counting bars, like what is it, 9? It's like 9, 13. Is it like 11 or something like that? But yeah, I'm not a big fan. It's just chop, chop, chop until you get out of this 30-minute candle. Yeah, you could scalp nodes like this, obviously. It's a pretty decent range. It's like what, a 5-6 point range. Um but you just never know like during the time if it's going to keep ranging like this. So it just depends on if you want to wait for the larger move or not. Yeah, DeMark indicators, TD sequential, it's all the same stuff. Counting bars. Yeah, most of those are scams, Mauser. Most of the trading competitions are just scams for them to generate fees. They allow people to make multiple accounts. They allow people to like hedge. It's very easy to it kind of like cheating, but it's not really cheating because it's not against their rules. But in the sense of like normal trading, it's cheating, right? Most of those are just full of shit. They're for people to make themselves feel better. Nicholas, it all just depends on where it is. Could be a trap, could be a sweep, could be absorption. There's many different reasons why the delta is not following price. The big thing about delta is you have to understand that in order for there to be strong delta in one direction, there needs to be strong limit sellers in the other direction. So if there's big bullish delta, that's because there's a lot of limit sellers because they need someone to buy into. So that can greatly affect how the delta is being shown. We saw that this morning when we had that bounce up, but there was no bullish delta. It's because nobody was selling. They were allowing price to go up. They were creating a trap. They were allowing price to go up so people felt safe in their position, and then they completely annihilated them. Hey, Unleash, have a good day, man. We'll see you tomorrow. If it just goes right back up here, we'll probably call it a stream. I was trying to catch this break of this 30-minute candle on stream so I could explain it. But this is just getting ridiculous at this point. Just kind of stuck inside this micro pullback. No, delta's not always right. Price is right a lot of the time. One of the big times where delta is right is if delta is trending very aggressively in one direction the whole day and price is trending the other direction, typically the longer that trend goes on, delta is going to win. It's not always the case, right? There's always probabilities. But I'd say more often than not, delta is going to win that battle. If delta does not win that battle, it is painful, very painful. That's when you see a major squeeze of that delta. But typically, if they're trending opposite, If they're trending opposite for a long time, Delta typically wins. The variables that go into that would be like, is it the first day of the month, last day of the month? Is it OPEX? Like, is there big boy stuff going on? Because they can skew Delta pretty heavily. Quarterly, close, stuff like that. But all right, guys, I streamed pretty long today. We're going to call it there. Just keep an eye on that 30-minute candle that started the distribution here. Just mark out the high, 39. Mark out the low, 30. We want to see a clear break of these levels. Strong Delta. We don't want to see a sweep. We want to see it cleanly breaking these levels and holding above or below. The trade plan on ES and NASDAQ is pretty much already completed. We completed it within the first like 30 minutes. The trade plan was mostly finishing that incomplete auction. We still have a levels to the downside at 04 on ES. Not sure if you'll get that today. But the incomplete auction has been repaired. Trade plan on NASDAQ has been completed down to 141. That was the auction. Below that, you're looking for 64. If it does continue. But all right, guys, I will be in Discord the rest of the day. If you guys are there, I'll see you there. If you're not in Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time as always. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use code BREW, B-R-E-W, on Apex. I believe it's still 80%. I think you have like 2 days left on that 80% off. If you would like to use the indicators that I showed on stream yesterday, the Momo, the OTS, send me a receipt of you using the brew code on Apex and say, hey, could I get access to the indicators? And I'll give you access for 60 days to help you guys get funded on those accounts. Here's my email if you need it. You can also check out the platform that we're showing right now, Addis. There's a free trial down below. If you would like a extended free trial, once you sign up right away, just send me an email. Tell me which email you used to sign up, and I'll send it to their team. And then finally, if you want to check out Discord, if you want to check out the tutoring, stuff like that, there is a link down below. Appreciate you guys all being here. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a good rest of your night.